We are about to start our fourth session of this conference and second session of the day. So I think we'll start with our presentation, and the presiding person, the president of this session, when she is let go of by the media persons, will take her place.
So first, I would like to thank the Ministry of Culture, Government of Sindh, and the National Fund for Mohen Daro for organizing this conference and inviting me to present the current excavation program at the Indus civilization site of Daro by the French Archaeological Mission in cooperation with Department of Archaeology and Museums of Pakistan and Culture, Tourism and Antiquities Department, Government of Sindh. Since its foundation in 1958, along with the first excavations in Amri, Sindh, the French mission, which is one of the longest-running foreign archaeological programs in Pakistan, has focused its research work mainly on the issue of the emergence and development of the Indus civilization and its relationships with anterior cultures of Baluchistan and Sindh. Here on the map, you have an overview of all the sites excavated by the French mission since 1958 in red, and in yellow, selection of exploration program conducted by the same mission. The contribution of the French mission includes, of course, the work conducted by Jean-François Jarige in Pirak, Mergar, and Noshero that revealed for the first time in South Asia a continuous sequence of occupation dating back to the 8th millennium BC. In Makran, Baluchistan, our team, supervised by Dr. Roland Bezinval, also brought to light the rich Chalcolithic past of the region, filling a gap in the low knowledge of ancient population and economy of southwestern Pakistan. After 45 years of continuous work in Baluchistan, the French mission started in 2015 a new fieldwork in Sindh in cooperation with Exploration and Excavation Branch Karachi. This new research that combines both a full coverage archaeological survey in northeastern part of the Baran River in Jamshoro district and also excavations at Daro. This program aims at bringing further data on the interregional interaction systems between Sindh and Baluchistan, but also to provide new insight on development and changes in architecture and material culture of the first period of the Indus civilization. Because as you know, the Indus civilization is subdivided into three periods represented here with the sites excavated or surveyed in Sindh. And each period of the Indus civilization is associated with a specific painted pottery, as it was demonstrated by my colleague Gonzague Quiron from stratigraphic and pottery studies from Noshero. And here you have, for example, the same chronology represented at the site of Daro. In Daro, the first period of the Indus civilization, which is characterized by ceramics vessels similar to Noshero period 2, as you can see here on the screen, this period is well represented on the site. It is represented in these areas colored in gray, but these levels were, the architecture associated with these levels, unfortunately, were very little documented on the site. And it is worth stating that overall, excavation sites in Sindh that provided a thorough documentation on the first period of the Indus civilization are very few in numbers. Because for many sites, like in Mohenjo-Daro, for example, these levels are deeply buried beneath occupation dated to the second and third period of the Indus civilization, and it is very difficult to excavate these levels. Other sites, like the sites of Amri or Kodiji, were too eroded to excavate large portions of architecture dated to the first Indus period. And finally, other sites were destroyed by agricultural or building projects. So, For all Baluchistan and Sindh, the only excavated site that provided until now substantial architectures from the first Indus period is the site of Nowshera in Baluchistan. You can see this first period occupation in orange. And this first period occupation is also associated with the discovery of monumental buildings illustrated here on the screen. So among major challenges for Indus civilizations in Sindh, one is to conduct new extensive excavations on a site where occupation from the first Indus period is accessible. As Mark mentioned yesterday, working on this first period will help us to provide a better understanding of the formation of the first Indus cities, the genesis of plant urbanism, and also to bring further data on early architectural and craft developments still little known in this part of the greater Indus Valley. So after re-examining the published data and as suggested by the Department of Archaeology here in Sindh, the French mission, in cooperation with Exploration Branch, decided to select the site of Daro to carry out new excavations. Discovered in 1931 and excavated during one field season only in 35-36 by a team led by Ernest Mackay, the site of Daro is considered in archaeological literature as one of the most important craft production centers of the Indus civilization. However, if the old excavations provided substantial data on the levels dated to the second and third period of the Indus civilization, like in Mohenjo-Daro, as I told you, the first period was very little studied and documented. As you can see here on this picture, the architectural remains in fired bricks excavated by Mackay in the 30s, which are represented here in the middle of the screen, have today totally disappeared due to erosion after 80 years of time, and also because of brick recycling. So it's a pity, but in a way, this gave us the unique opportunity to reach directly and on a very large surface these levels dated to the first period of the Indus civilization. Here you have another illustration, a schematic section of the site that show you that the first period of the Indus civilization, which is represented here in beige color, has a very high potential for study in Mohenjo-Daro. It represents actually the greatest part of the occupation of the site, which is today totally buried. So after a first test sounding number 1 that we have conducted in 2015, we opened 2 trenches in 2016, one at the location of Mount 2, where, near an area where Professor Scher and Massimo Vidale collected remains of craft activities in the beginning of the 80s. And we opened another trench, number 1, in Mount 3, where Majumdar have collected a lot of painted pottery that we have dated a posteriori to the first Indus period. So in both trenches, we found several levels of residential units with architectures mostly built in mud brick, contrary to the architectural remains dated to the second and third period in Mohenjo-Daro, which are built in fired brick. And the domestic installations we found were delimited by narrow lanes, were all associated with painted pottery ascribed without any difficulty to the first period of the Indus civilization from comparative studies with Nowshera, with Harappa, and other sites. What is also interesting in some of the structures we found in Trench 2 shows also some structures in fired bricks integrated into the masonry in mud bricks. These are not later architecture or second phase of constructions. These fired brick structures are totally integrated into the masonry in mud bricks. So this is very interesting. The filling of the rooms and lanes excavated also provided many evidences of specialized craft activities, mainly associated with lapidary working, including materials like steatite, chert, chalcedony, and a lot of finished and unfinished beads. And since no craft workshops were excavated in this part of Sindh for the first period of the Indus civilization, this led us to consider that this research has to be extended, and we have now to find the workshops associated with these remains of craft activities. So these are other pictures of the material found in Trench 2. As you can see, we have, some flakes of chalcedony, agate, cornelians. We have also remains of drills, unfinished and finished beads. And here a very interesting assemblage on the left in lower part of the screen of flakes that were found in a broken vessel here in a street. So these are other pictures of the material which were found in the same room. So blades, tools for bead manufacturing. One bead in lapis lazuli we found last year, and also plenty of terracotta beads. These are the other kind of artifacts associated with these rooms, miniature pots, a lot of pottery, figurines, hundreds of terracotta bangles, and etc., etc. And what is also very interesting is that in Trench 3, the rooms which were excavating there did not provide, like in Trench 2, remains of craft activities. And these levels are totally contemporaneous to the levels excavated in Trench 2. So we think that this part of the site must have rather a residential function during that time. So the objective of the excavation program started last year was also to better understand the limits, nature, and function of these substantial mud brick architectures whose upper portions were reached by Mackay below the Harappa 2 levels built in fired bricks, but never excavated. And this architecture, these mud brick platforms, are shown here in this gray area. I put some red arrows to show them. And according to the interpretative models established from old excavations, from Mackay's excavation, which have been compared during that time to Mohenjo excavation, Mackay interpreted these platforms, these mud brick structures as solid platforms constructed to raise the buildings beyond the reach of floats. But again, Mackay did not excavate this mud brick architecture. So in 2016, we had the opportunity to excavate one of them, and it revealed actually the presence of several planned quadrangular cells of various sizes that you have here on the right side of the slide. But also this building was accessible by a step with, two large steps, which present on the exterior facings of fired bricks. And these facings are totally integrated again into the masonry. They were not added in the second phase of construction, as it is demonstrated here by a section we have done in this building. So these architectural features and the stratigraphic locations of this building, which is surrounded by contemporary dwellings in mud bricks, and a building damaged by the constructions of later buildings, also dated from the first period, made clear that this building does not correspond to the interpretative models previously established, in which the city of Daro was built in fired bricks on a massive mud brick platform, serving as a measure against floats. So at the end of 2016 excavations, we were assuming that this massive structure could be a basement of an important structure or group of structure to be, whose function was not determined, or maybe it's a monumental building like a granary or something else. So now, 3 weeks ago, our Pakistani-French team started the third field season at Daro, and our excavations will go on until the end of February. So this year, the main objective was to conduct extensive excavations around this massive mud brick structure, of course, to obtain a complete map, and to define if this portion excavated belongs to a vast complex that extends, as suggested by Mackay map, on a vast area, or if it is part of a group of different buildings. So we are currently excavating a large surface, represented here in a red color, a surface about 900 square meters. And for the moment, we have identified the architectural remains of a vast complex built in mud brick, whose preliminary map is provided here. So this architectural level, again, is anterior to Mackay's Harappa II level and is associated only with painted pottery dated from the first period of the Indus civilization. And it seems, for us, I mean, these are just preliminary results, but it seems that this vast complex is formed by 4 main ensembles that belong to the same building phase. Indeed, the northern part of this complex include the massive structure I've shown just before, and the map of this massive structure will be completed, I think, next week. And as you can see, there are a group of rooms just in front of this building, and these rooms have provided a lot of material, pottery, and we are just excavating these levels now. And this building and this group of rooms is accessible by, as you can see on the right, sorry, there is a pit cutting this, but a S-shaped path. And this room provided numerous, again, pottery, black slip jars, painted pottery dated from the first period of the Indus civilization, and some bones to be determined. In the eastern part of the complex, we think that regarding the larger size of the rooms and the material associated, that this part of the complex is more devoted to for residential function. And we have found plenty of material like this room with 35 miniature pots or some other remains. I just show you the most beautiful pieces, human figurines too. And the central part of the complex is totally different because it is formed by an ensemble of cells and rooms of various shapes and sizes, as you can see here. And some of these rooms, they are filled with clay sediment with no material. Other rooms are filled completely with remains of craft activities. So at this stage of excavation, it is difficult to raise conclusions on the function of this part of the building. However, it is interesting to note that specific type of material were found in specific rooms. For example, these remains of chalcedony or shirts, stalactites. And in other rooms, this is again the material associated with this room, including drills, blades, various tools. And we have also found in some of these cells other kind of material. Here, for example, I mean, the bead on the right is the same that we found in the residential area, but also some beads and in cornelian or steatite. And in one of these rooms, I mean, one in the center, one of these 4 small cells, we have found only remains of shell working. This shell, which are this picture here on the lower part of the screen. So these shells were found only in one room, the same room, and which has provided no other kind of material. So in other rooms associated with terracotta cakes, we have also found a good collections of animal figurines. And these are other terracotta objects we found in the same area. So now let's go to the southern part of the complex, which is formed actually by 2 main units. And in the south, for the moment, we don't have too much data, collected too much data. But just before we left for this conference, we started to open a large extension in the south. On the south of this trench, because we think that what we see here in the middle should be another massive building comparable to the one we excavated in the north. And in the southeastern part of this complex, finally, we found some compartment spaces, jars, kilns, oven, all of this clearly connected with pyrotechnological activities. All the layers were totally filled with, thick layers of terracotta cakes and small, installations, quadrangular installations related to pyrotechnological activities.